Hi, guys. So today we are going to be doing the second part of the active read for the Black Cat. Just a reminder here, it is important to make sure that you're copying down all of these things and getting some stuff highlighted in here because you are going to be using this story for a TDA. Yesterday, we would have read the first part for part one. If you guys go ahead and click on this link down here, it will open up a Cami article for The Black Cat, which is written by Edgar Allan Poe. In our first part of the story, we are introduced to an unnamed narrator who we know is unreliable. And so far, he's unreliable because he's an alcoholic. He's constantly drinking. He's unreliable because he's easy to anger and he's prone to violence. Okay. And if you're easy to anger, you're going to fly off the handle really quickly. And he's also unreliable because he's impulsive. He does things without thinking. It's just the thoughts in his head and he does it. Um, just a reminder here. Um, our main character, or our unnamed narrator, he tells us at the very beginning of the story he loves animals, especially his cat Pluto. But as he starts to, grow worse and become an alcoholic and angry, the cat tries to stay away from him. He cuts the cat's eye out. The cat doesn't trust him anymore, rightfully so. But then our narrator, because he can't take the fact that he has he doesn't have this cat's love anymore, he decides to kill the cat. The last thing that we read was right the same night as our narrator kills the cat. Their house catches on fire and burns to the ground. And our narrator thinks that it might be Pluto, kind of in some sort of revenge-ish way from beyond the grave, like causing him pain. That does sound a little bit crazy, but we know that our narrator is a little bit crazy. Okay. So before we continue with our active read, let's just take a second look at our focus questions over here. In blue, we're highlighting how our narrator is described. And then we'll use like little comment tools over on the side saying whether it's indirect or direct and saying what that characterization actually is. And finally, in red, we are highlighting how the narrator is unreliable. So we're highlighting some instances as to how they're unreliable, and we'll say it over here. For example, this one is about him being an alcoholic and how alcohol doesn't exactly make you the most reliable person. You do things that you wouldn't normally do. And our key over here looks just like all of our other keys. We're highlighting things. Things that answer our focus question, using text boxes for questions with answers, using the comment tool for connections that we have, and adding images where relevant. Okay, so we are starting um, on the third page here on the first full paragraph. Months went by. Okay. Months went by, and I could not drive the thought of the cat out of my mind. One night I sat in the inn, drinking as usual. In the corner, I saw a dark object that I had not seen before. I went over to see what it could be. It was a cat almost exactly like Pluto. I touched it with my hand and petted it, passed my hand softly along its back. The cat rose and pushed his back against my hand. Okay, so right here, I've got a comment to make. Okay. Oh no. Oh, no. A new cat. And we know how things went with our last cat. But this cat does seem to be trusting him. He's reaching down to pet it. The cat is more than happy to be petted and in fact pushes its head back at him, like as cats do when they want pets. So perhaps this one will be different. The morning after I brought it home, however, I discovered that this cat, like Pluto, only had one eye. All right, I'm pulling my text box out here. Is this a coincidence? We don't know. Okay. Um, let's go ahead and take a look at this picture also. So we have a picture of what I'm assuming is our new cat. And if we look, this is our narrator here, and we can see number one, he has he has like a wine bottle or some sort of bottle in his hand, and he has a cup in his hand. So I'm going to ask a question over here. Why does he have two drinks in the picture? And I'm going to make it so we can actually see it. He's an alcoholic. And we can also look up here. This cat, it's casting kind of a weird dark shadow. I'm going to add like a little comment over here. Odd shadow. Okay, let's continue. The cat only has one eye. How was it possible that I had not noticed this the night before? The fact only made my wife love the cat more, but I myself found a feeling of dislike growing in me. My growing dislike of the animal only seemed to increase its love for me. It followed me everywhere, always. When I sat, it lay down under my chair. When I stood up, it got between my feet and nearly made me fall. Wherever I went, it was always there. At night, I dreamt of it, and I began to hate the cat. So this cat is following him everywhere. The cat loves him, but the cat loving him, loving, oop, loving him and following him. I'm gonna fix my spelling error here. Around only makes him hate it more. Okay. Our narrator is just an angry, angry guy. One day, my wife called out for me from the cellar of the old building that we were now forced to live. As I went down the stairs, the cat, following me, as always, ran under my feet and nearly threw me down. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can find a picture of somebody like falling downstairs. Let's see. Hmm. Oh, perfect. Okay. In sudden anger, I took my knife and struck wildly at the cat. All right, I'm highlighting that in red. Oop, wrong thing to highlight. This, again, oops. I'm going to add a comment over here. Proves he's easy to anger. I can't tell you how many times I almost trip over my chihuahuas. I have never pulled out a knife and started whacking at them. Quickly, my wife pulled out her hand to and stopped my arm. This only increased my anger, and without thinking, I turned and put the knife's point deep into her heart. She fell to the floor and died without a sound. Okay. I am definitely highlighting this red. I turned and put the knife deep into her heart. So, because she tried to stop him from killing another cat, he violently murders his wife. Oh, okay. And I'm going to change these to red. Ooh, perfect. Okay, so not something normal. He's being violent. I spent a few moments looking for the cat, but it was gone. And I had other things to do, for I knew I must do something with the body, and quickly. Suddenly, I noted a place on the wall where the cellar were stones. where stones had been added to the wall to cover an old fireplace, which was no longer wanted. The walls were not very strongly built, but I found I could easily break down those stones. Behind them, there was, as I knew there must be, a hole just big enough to hold the body. With much effort, I put the body in and carefully put the stones back. I I was pleased to see that it was quite impossible for anyone to know that a single stone had been moved. Okay, so what is he doing here? Hiding the body. Okay, and I'm going to add in one more picture here. I am going to see if I can find a picture of a guy with a knife. I'm going to search stab. Oh, perfect. Okay. Days passed. Still, there was no cat. A few people came and asked about my wife, but I answered them easily. All right, I'm going to highlight that in blue here. A few people came and asked about my wife, but I answered them easily. So let's highlight it actually. There we go. He's a liar. Indirect. Liar. Alrighty. Then, one day, several officers of the police came, certain that they would could find certain that they could find nothing. I asked them in and went with them as they searched. Okay. So, the police are suspicious of our narrator, and rightfully they should be. They're coming into his house. There we go. Oops. Just looking, there we go, for a police officer. Okay. Finally, they searched the cellar from end to end. I watched them quietly, and as I expected, they noticed nothing. But as they started up the stairs again, I felt myself driven by some unknown inner force to let them know, to make them know that I had won the battle. Okay, so he's gotten away with it. The police have decided, like, oh, I guess she's actually not here. But we know she is, okay? Our narrator decides, you know what? I've gotten away with it. I'm going to brag about it here a little bit. So we have another indirect characterization here. He's cocky or arrogant. Goodness, I can't spell today. Okay. He's literally bragging to the police about how they can't find his wife's body. Okay. So what does he say to them? The walls of this building, I said, are very strongly built. It's a fine old house. And as I spoke, I struck with my stick that very place in the wall behind which was the body of my wife. Immediately, I felt a cold feeling up and down my back as we heard coming out from the wall itself a horrible cry. All right, I'm asking a question here. Who is yelling from behind the wall? Is his wife still alive? For a short moment, the officers stood looking at each other. Then quickly they began to pick up the stones, and in short time they saw before them the body of my wife, black with dried blood and smelling of decay. On the body's head, its one eye filled with fire, its wide open mouth the color of blood, sat the cat, crying out its revenge. Alrighty. I'm going to try and see if I can find a picture of that. I'm just going to search the title of the story, The Black Cat, because I know that there are probably illustrations of this. I'm going to choose that first one. And we can see our new cat sitting on top of the body that's stuck behind there. I'm going to shrink that so we can still see the text. Okay. So we came up with a lot of characterization, and we came up with how our narrator is unreliable. Okay. So we are going to be using this for a TDA later in the coming weeks. We are going to be doing a worksheet with this first. So if you guys have any questions for me about this active read or about the Black Cat in general, definitely let me know. Definitely send me an email. Have a nice day, guys.